What if I told you that the most powerful asset a billionaire can own isn't their tech company, their super yacht, or their stock portfolio? What if it was something far more ancient, far more tangible, and in many cases, something that looks like, well, nothing? All across the world, there are vast, empty-looking landscapes, thousands upon thousands of acres of rolling hills, dense forests and arid plains, all sitting silently under the ownership of the world's wealthiest people. We see the headlines. Tech moguls like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates have been quietly buying up massive tracts of land. We see satellite images of enormous ranches and timberland held by families whose names have meant wealth for centuries. This land often seems untouched for decades, generating no obvious income and serving no apparent purpose. To most of us, it seems like a paradox, a fundamentally wasted asset. In a world obsessed with quarterly earnings and non-stop growth, why would the planet's sharpest capitalists pour billions into something that just sits there? The simple and pretty unsettling answer is that this isn't a mistake, it's a strategy. This isn't about laziness or oversight, it's a deliberate, calculated, and centuries-old playbook for protecting wealth, cementing a legacy, and exercising a silent, almost invisible kind of power. What we see as unused land, they see as a fortress. What looks like an empty field to us is, to them, a chessboard where moves are planned decades in advance. It's a game played on a geological timescale, a world away from the frantic pace of the modern market. Today, we're going to decode the mystery of these vast, quiet properties. We'll explore the history behind this strategy, the powerful financial incentives, and the deep psychological drivers that compelled the ultra-rich to own a piece of the earth itself. This is the story of how owning nothing can be the key to controlling everything. It all starts with a simple, almost primal understanding that separates the thinking of the ultra-wealthy from almost everyone else. They get that while money can be printed, companies can rise and fall, and markets can boom and bust, there is one asset that is truly finite: land. As the old saying goes, they're not making any more of it. Now, that's a slight oversimplification. Land can be reclaimed and usability can change, but the core truth holds. The amount of desirable, well-located land is fundamentally scarce. This is the bedrock of their entire strategy. When a billionaire buys 1,000 acres of forest, they aren't just buying trees and dirt. They are buying a piece of permanence in an impermanent world. They're acquiring a tangible slice of that scarcity. And as we'll see, scarcity is the ultimate source of enduring power. This isn't just real estate. This is the oldest form of wealth preservation known to man, updated for the 21st century. And the reasons why they do it are a masterclass in long-term thinking. Chapter 1. The Fortress Against Chaos. Land as the ultimate store of value. To really get the strategy of buying and holding huge tracts of land, you have to unlearn what you think you know about wealth. For most people, wealth is dynamic. It's income, a stock portfolio flickering green and red, a number in a bank account. It's fluid and at the mercy of the global economy. But for the kind of wealth that's measured in generations, not fiscal quarters, that fluidity is a liability. It's a source of constant anxiety. Their main goal isn't just to grow their wealth, but to shield it from the inevitable storms of economic history. This is where land comes in, not as an investment for growth, but as a fortress. It's the ultimate hedge against chaos. Think about money itself. Every currency in history, from the Roman denarius to the modern dollar, is a promise backed by a government. And throughout history, those promises have been repeatedly broken. Governments print more money, leading to inflation that silently eats away its savings. Currencies devalue, and entire paper fortunes can evaporate. But land, however, isn't a promise. It's a physical reality. It's an asset that exists completely outside the financial system. It can't be printed by a central bank. Its supply is fixed. It doesn't depend on a CEO's performance or a government's stability. This makes it an incredibly powerful antidote to inflation, the single greatest long-term threat to accumulated wealth. While money in the bank loses purchasing power, land has historically appreciated, acting as a steady store of value that other assets just can't match. This isn't a new idea. It's an ancient one. Before stocks, bonds, or complex financial derivatives, there was land. For millennia, owning land was the definition of wealth. Aristocratic families in Europe didn't measure their fortunes in currency, they measured them in acres. In the United Kingdom, a huge portion of the country is still owned by a tiny fraction of the population, often descendants of landed aristocrats like the Duke of Westminster, whose family controls vast, priceless swaths of central London. These families have weathered centuries of wars, recessions, and social upheaval, not just because of financial genius, but because their wealth was anchored to the ground beneath their feet. Today's billionaires are the new aristocrats, and they're using the old playbook. When someone like Bill Gates quietly becomes the largest private owner of farmland in the United States, amassing a portfolio of around 270,000 acres through his investment firm Cascade, it's not because he has a sudden passion for agronomy. He and his team recognize farmland as a stable asset that offers reliable returns and, more importantly, serves as a powerful hedge against the volatility of his tech-heavy portfolio. The average value of U.S. farm real estate hit a record high again in 2025, a testament to its enduring appeal in an uncertain economy. This strategy is supercharged by the other half of the equation: increasing scarcity. The global population is growing, but the amount of available land is not. In fact, usable land is shrinking. In the United States, total land in farms has declined by nearly 75 million acres between 1997 and 2022, lost to urbanization, development, and other uses. That trend isn't reversing. Every time a new housing development goes up, the remaining supply of untouched, raw land becomes just a little bit more valuable. The wealthy see this not as a problem, but as a massive opportunity. They are playing a long game of supply and demand. By acquiring huge tracts of land and simply holding them, they are effectively taking that land off the market. They are cornering a piece of a finite resource, confident that time and population growth will inevitably drive its value up. The land doesn't need to do anything to become more valuable. It just needs to be. Its value is passive, derived not from what it produces, but from the simple fact that it exists and others can't have it. So when you see that empty-looking field owned by a mysterious LLC, understand that it isn't idle. It is working. It is acting as a vault, a store of value more secure than a bank. It's a bulwark against inflation and a tangible piece of a world that's becoming more crowded every day. It's a financial fortress, built not of steel and concrete, but of soil and stone, designed to stand for centuries.
Chapter 2. The Unseen Kingdom. Land as a tool of control and influence. If using land as a store of value is the defensive play, then using it as a tool for control is the offensive one. This is where owning untouched land moves beyond simple wealth preservation and into the realm of raw power. Owning a big enough piece of the map gives you a say in how the rest of the map gets drawn, often in ways that are subtle, profound, and totally invisible to the public. When a wealthy individual buys 1,000 acres, they're not just buying the surface. They're often acquiring a bundle of rights: mineral rights, timber rights, and critically in the 21st century, water rights. In the dry American West, for instance, owning land that sits on an aquifer or controls access to a river is an immensely powerful position. As water becomes scarcer, those who own the land that holds it can influence agriculture, urban development, and the viability of entire communities. The land may look empty, but it's a reservoir of a life-sustaining resource, and its owner holds the tap. Beyond resources, the sheer scale of these holdings creates a gravity of control. Imagine a small town surrounded on three sides by a massive ranch owned by a reclusive billionaire. That owner might never build the thing, but by simply choosing not to sell or develop, they hold a veto over the town's future. They can stop new housing, block a new highway, or prevent a rival business from ever breaking ground. Their inaction becomes a powerful action dictating reality for thousands of people without ever casting a vote. Some research on the American frontier suggests that areas with high concentrations of land ownership in the hands of a few sometimes experienced slower economic development and investment, as large landowners could stifle the dynamism that creates broader prosperity. We see a modern version of this in Solano County, California. A mysterious company, Flannery Associates, spent years and over $800 million quietly buying up roughly 55,000 acres of farmland, becoming the county's largest landowner. For a long time, no one knew who was behind it. It was later revealed to be a group of Silicon Valley billionaires who envisioned building a new futuristic city. Regardless of the outcome, the story is a perfect illustration of the principle. With enough capital, a small group can acquire the power to literally design a future, operating in secret for years. This control also extends into politics. Large landowners are automatically major players in local and regional politics. Their decisions about land use have huge tax implications. They become the most important voice in any conversation about zoning, environmental regulations, or infrastructure. Their influence is felt in every election, as they can fund campaigns and lobby officials to steer policy in directions that protect their long-term interests. Often that interest is simply maintaining the undeveloped nature of their holdings. Look at the enduring power of aristocratic families in Europe. The Duke of Westminster's family has owned huge parts of London's most exclusive neighborhoods for centuries. But it's not a passive inheritance. Today, their fortune is managed by the Grosvenor Group, a sophisticated global real estate and investment business that develops and manages property worldwide. Their power began with land and has evolved into an active modern enterprise, showing how land ownership can be the foundation for centuries of influence. A modern billionaire buying a 200,000-acre ranch in Montana is playing a similar game. They're establishing a modern-day fiefdom. Inside their property lines, they are sovereign, and by owning the buffer zone around their personal domain, they ensure the outside world can't encroach. That unused land is a moat, guaranteeing privacy and autonomy. So when we see these vast tracts, we should see them not as vacant, but as kingdoms in waiting. They're reserves of resources, levers of political influence, and silent arbiters of development. The owner's power comes not from what they do with the land, but from the fact that they alone decide its fate. Chapter 3. The Chain of Immortality. Land as a Legacy and Generational Power. If land is a financial fortress and a tool of control, its third, and maybe most profound function, is as a vessel for legacy. This is where cold investment strategy meets the deeply human desire for a story that outlives the storyteller. For the ultra-wealthy, land isn't just an asset, it's the physical embodiment of their lineage, a tangible link to their past and a beacon for their future. Think about other forms of wealth. A stock portfolio is a string of digital entries on a server. A company can be disrupted into bankruptcy in one generation. Cash is a fleeting promise, but land is different. Land is real. You can stand on it. It has a physical permanence that no financial instrument can ever match. This is why for families who measure their existence in centuries, land is the ultimate anchor of legacy. It turns wealth from a number into a narrative. The family name gets tied to a place, a specific valley, a mountain range, a coastal estate. Ted Turner, with his 2 million acres in one of the world's largest private bison herds, has woven his identity into the fabric of the American West. His land isn't just an investment, it's the manifestation of his conservation ethic, a legacy you can see on a map. This practice has deep roots in the idea of the ancestral estate. For European aristocrats, the family castle and its lands were the heart of their identity. Selling it wasn't just a financial transaction, it was a betrayal of your ancestors. That same mindset persists today, though the tools have changed. Families often use complex legal structures like long-term trusts and foundations to hold their land. These structures are designed to make the land difficult to sell, protecting it from a spendthrift heir or a bad business decision. While truly perpetual ownership is often limited by laws like the rule of perpetuities, these legal tools are crafted to preserve the land for generations, making it the permanent fixture of the family's identity. This creates a powerful cultural continuity. New money might be defined by flashy spending, but old money is often defined by the quiet stewardship of land. A supercar signals temporary success, but a 50,000-acre ranch that's been in the family for 150 years signals an enduring dynasty. It says, we are not just passing through, we are here to stay. And moreover, this land often serves as a private sanctuary where the family's culture is preserved. It's where generations come together away from the public eye and where traditions are passed down. The land becomes the backdrop for the family's collective memory, a private world that reinforces their shared identity. It's a powerful psychological anchor in a chaotic world, providing a sense of stability and timelessness that is the ultimate luxury. It's an investment and a form of immortality. So, when you see these vast, privately owned wilderness, you might be looking at a family's soul. It's their history book, their private cathedral, and their tool for projecting their story deep into the future.
Chapter 4. The Fortress of Solitude. Land as the ultimate luxury, privacy and security. Beyond the grand strategies of finance, control, and legacy, there's a fourth, more personal reason for acquiring vast, empty land: the pursuit of absolute privacy and security. In a world of constant surveillance and 24/7 media, the ability to be truly alone, unobserved, and unbothered has become the ultimate luxury. And the only way to guarantee it is to own your own horizon. For most of us, privacy is closing the blinds. For a high-profile billionaire, those measures are useless. The only way to escape the constant scrutiny is to create a physical buffer so large that the outside world simply can't get in. This is the Fortress of Solitude concept. When a tech billionaire buys a remote ranch, they aren't just buying a vacation home, they're buying autonomy. They're buying the ability to disappear. Inside their own borders, they can live and work knowing no one is watching. For instance, Jeff Bezos has acquired over 460,000 acres in West Texas. While this land is the operational base for his company Blue Origin, it also functions as an enormous private kingdom where activities can be conducted in secrecy. It's a strategy of creating a defensive perimeter, of owning not just your house, but the view of your house. This desire for security goes beyond privacy from the media. There's a growing prepper mentality among some of the ultra-wealthy. They see the risks of social instability, climate change, or pandemics. Their vast, remote, and often self-sufficient landholdings are the ultimate insurance policy. These are not just scenic retreats. They are self-sufficient sanctuaries planned for a future where that might be a necessity. This also explains the appeal of raw land that is deliberately kept undeveloped. A dense forest is a better barrier than a manicured lawn. A rugged, mountainous terrain is more defensible than a flat field. The useless nature of the land, its lack of roads or buildings, becomes its key security feature. It is intentionally kept wild and inaccessible to all but the owner. While these holdings still require management like paying taxes and legal compliance, they're far less demanding and an active company. So this dimension is about turning inward. It's about creating a personal sanctuary from a world perceived as increasingly intrusive and unstable. The vast empty acres are not empty at all. They are filled with the priceless commodities of silence, solitude, and security. It is the ultimate act of drawing a line and saying, here the world stops, and my world begins. The aha moment. Buying the unbuyable. So we've looked at land as a financial fortress, a tool of control, a vessel for legacy, and a sanctuary for privacy. But the real aha moment comes when you put it all together. What are the wealthy really buying? They're not just buying a physical asset. They're acquiring abstract concepts that are becoming the scarcest resources of our time. They're buying time. Owning land you don't need to develop is a rebellion against short-term thinking. It's an investment designed to mature over generations, not fiscal quarters. It frees them to think on a geological timescale, making a bet on the long arc of history. They're buying scarcity. In an age where almost everything can be copied infinitely for free, you can't duplicate an acre of land. You can't right-click a mountain. By purchasing huge tracts of the physical world, they are stockpiling the one thing that cannot be digitized. In a world of endless copies, the original becomes priceless. They are buying silence. Not just the absence of noise, but the absence of obligation. A company demands leadership. A stock portfolio demands attention. But a vast tract of land held as a store of value demands very little. Its passivity is its genius. It's an asset that can appreciate without constant effort, a source of power that grows without intervention. This freedom is a luxury no other asset can provide. And critically, they are buying invisibility. One of the most fascinating parts of these massive land deals is how secretive they are. Billionaires rarely buy 100,000 acres in their own name. They use a web of shell companies and LLCs with boring names like Cascade Investment for Bill Gates or Flannery Associates for the Silicon Valley Group. This secrecy is a core feature of the strategy. It allows them to accumulate immense power without attracting public scrutiny. Power that is unseen cannot be challenged. Put it all together and the picture becomes clear. Buying up land is the ultimate meta strategy. It's a move to acquire the very concepts that are becoming extinct in the modern world: time, scarcity, silence, and invisibility. It's a flight from the abstract world of finance into the solid reality of the physical world. And it has profound consequences. This concentration of the world's most fundamental asset in the hands of a tiny elite creates a new silent landed aristocracy, reinforcing the gap between those who own the board and those who are just pieces on it. So the next time you fly over the country and see those vast, seemingly empty squares of green and brown, you'll know they are not empty at all. They are filled with strategy, history, and power. They are fortresses against financial chaos, silent kingdoms exerting invisible control, physical anchors for family legacies, and private sanctuaries from an intrusive world. What looks like nothing is in fact a masterclass in long-term thinking. It's a misconception that the wealthy are buying land they never use. Many of these lands are actively used for timber, ranching, or conservation. But more importantly, they are using the idea of the land, its permanence, scarcity, and silence as the ultimate tool for preserving and extending their power across generations. While the rest of the world chases the next fleeting trend, the truly powerful are quietly buying up the one thing that cannot be created or copied: the earth itself. They understand that in the final analysis, stocks and currencies are just proxies for value. Land is the value. They're not just playing the game of wealth, they're owning the very board on which it is played.